Has social media convinced you that starting a homestead is next to impossible? If you're not sure if you want to skip ahead or move to the next video, let me just tell you, the trick is to have the right mindset. It's not crazy to have positive thinking, to make a list, to check off the worst things first that you want to do the least. Then you can be excited to work on the other things. You can save money, pay off debt, quit spending money, live within your means, find and buy some land, start a homestead, start a small business, and build a little farm. And the farm could just grow and grow by the time you're older, and then you can pass it on for generations to come. Maybe it's time that Americans go back to farming. You can't harvest enough rainwater to survive. You'll never be able to grow enough food out there. The soil is trash. Mice will wipe out all of your gardens. That geothermal's going to flood and it'll collapse. It's not possible to grow enough meat to sustain yourself. It has to be extremely expensive to build infrastructure. Rainwater is dangerous. You can't keep a stallion with a mare. It's been my experience that more often than not, when someone tells you that you can't do something, what they actually mean is they aren't confident that they could do it. As far as land being too expensive and infrastructure and all that stuff, definitely there are places that won't fit your budget. And we all need to live within our means. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of acres all over the United States in places that people think are less than desirable. And they're pretty affordable, these places. To live off grid, you're not necessarily connected to the power line, and you're not a hop, skip, and a jump away from the hospital or the grocery store. But for the right person that wants to start a homestead, there's plenty of land out there where you can definitely start a successful homestead and do it affordably. In fact, I've come to believe mostly if somebody's like, well, the people that think that it's not possible, or they have negative things, or, they're constantly seeing negative perspective of it, well, then it's just not for them. And then for the person that's like, no, I could definitely see myself homesteading or living off grid or starting a business and doing the chores and creating multiple sources of income. And if you're passionate about it, it sounds like a good idea, then you're the person that it's probably going to pan out for. And for everyone else, if you do have a negative perspective, you can change that. And man, life is a lot better when you look at today, try to focus on now, what's happening, be positive. Your perspective on stuff, they say whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And so think about that. If you're like, oh, I couldn't possibly succeed at that, well, you're definitely a lot less likely to succeed. And the guy that thinks that he can, he probably can. What about the train? I think I can. There's so many examples, but it's a hard pill to swallow if you've had a hard start at life. And I know that feeling. I was homeless as a young man and didn't have food and worked real hard in construction, and it just was so hard. It really was hard. It really was hard. And then that makes it seem even more difficult, and it's easy to get in the wrong frame of mind. But when you're willing to turn that around finally, things get a lot easier. And you focus on the day, make the best of today, make the best of tomorrow, make a list, check off what you got to get done, save some money, pay off some debt, find a cheap piece of land that's within your budget, and run with that. I did that. I did exactly that. And you'll never know how many people told me that I bought a real crappy piece of land. That's trash. Maybe some were jealous, maybe some really believed it's trash. But I've built something that's really comfortable for me and all my animals, and we're really happy. Living mortgage-free, rent-free, generating all of our income from the homestead. Being self-employed is pretty awesome, and it's totally possible. And you know what I'm noticing now? I'm actually seeing a lot of younger men commenting, hey, I'm 20, I'm 25, and I'm starting a homestead. That's 20 years before I got going. I could only imagine that they'll have a lot of success, and then generations, imagine they build this farm and generations under them are gonna, that farm's gonna be handed over to them. And maybe, you know, we swung from nearly everybody being a farmer in the US to really industrializing things, and maybe it's time that we swing back the other way.